State of the Industry podcast. And here we go. Welcome, everybody. I am Adam Youngsma, and this is the State of the Industry podcast. I'm really excited to be on this journey with you, to be really stepping in and looking at the industry from a really unique perspective. Within this podcast, we're going to be trying to break down exactly like what is going on in the industry and where is it going. So we're going to be talking with some of the industry leaders and the pioneers, the thought leaders, to bring you as much actionable information so you can prepare not only better for what you're currently doing, but prepare better for the future as well. Today, I've got a special guest. He's a really good friend of mine and a colleague of mine, Anté O'Connor. And within this podcast session, we go deep into his very unique story and how it's affected everything that he does as a trainer and how he views personal training. And then we talk about how we can better adjust the why, about why we get into personal training, why we start doing it, and how we can kind of maintain our motivation throughout our careers. And then we talk a little bit about the goal setting for clients and how we can be a bit more proactive in our approach to that goal setting process. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, welcome to the State of the Industry podcast. I'm here with my good friend, Anté O'Connor. Ante, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Really excited to get this started. Been looking forward to doing this for a long time. We've been talking about doing this for a really long time.
For over a year now.
Yeah.
Yes, we have been.
So I don't know why now we just finally decided that this was a good idea, but
I got super hyped when you said that it's going down and you gave me a date. I probably want to ask you why now? Like, what happened?
well, honestly, it just kind of got to the point where, like, I do a lot of traveling. So not only presenting courses across the country, but also it was my first time doing a true international presentation. They say you're not an international presenter till you've went to more than 2 countries, and I don't count Canada. So I've presented in the U.S. and now finally in China. And just while being over there, being able to have conversations with some of the industry leaders and the innovators in the industry, I just want to kind of have the ability to have those discussions, but also enable the listeners or following to experience that and learn from them as well. I don't want to hoard it all to myself.
That is awesome and pretty cool. By the way, you didn't show me pictures yet, FYI.
I didn't.
You did not.
That's my bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll have to get on that. Well, let's get into this because I do have a lot of stuff that I want to get through, a lot of questions I have for you, because
Cool.
I know, like, we've known each other for a fairly long time, right?
Funny enough, I was filing for my passport and I used you as a reference and I was like, it's been like 4 years, right? 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, since that time back in Vaughan.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard your story before. So I've kind of heard. Actually, how about before we do this?
Okay.
What do you do?
Right now?
Yeah, like.
Well, okay. So I instruct courses and I personal train.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I do.
Nice. So now getting back to my original question.
Yeah.
So I know your story. I've heard it before, back when we first got to know each other a little bit, and I always love hearing it. And it was actually one of those things when you first started teaching. I was like, if you really want to not only get yourself comfortable in the environment, but also have your students really become attached or buy into what you're saying to them, tell them your story, because it's a very powerful one, because it's different from what a lot of people's stories is. When you're thinking about how they became a trainer and their journey to becoming a trainer, a lot of them, it's like, well, I just thought of it one day and here I am. But yours is very, very different. So can you can you just give the audience just a little bit of an understanding about how you got to where you are professionally?
Okay. So what's cool about that? It relates directly to the course itself, in a sense. So when you told me that, and you told me to, gave me the advice to open up a bit before I do the workshop. The first thing in the workshop, one of the first things is telling the students like why connecting with your why is important. And I got a big taste of that at that point. So this is my first podcast ever.
Nice.
Thanks again for having me.
Broke
so
your
it's
cherry.
similar right now, right? Like it's my first podcast. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just kind of going with the flow. We're having a conversation. It's cool. But you have this recording device. So it's like, okay, everything I'm saying is recorded. Got it. So connecting with my why right now even. So I never used to be as fit as I am today. My arms weren't always 16 inches of gains. Before that, I was fit at a point. I used to play basketball. I used to back up dance. I was a choreographer. Then I fell in love with Chinese food very late at night. And before I knew it, I was 318-ish pounds, pure fat. My family being, Caribbean. We ate a lot of carbs and fried and just not the healthiest things. And then my new love for milkshakes from McDonald's.
Sorry. So how much did they neglect you when you were like, "Oh, I'm leaving Caribbean food for Chinese." How did they feel?
You have no idea. Okay, not even that. Okay, so the Chinese food was addition with with the Caribbean food. But my mother owned a takeout restaurant in Shoreham in Toronto. And every Thursday she would do Friday night fried chicken. It would be what we eat with rice and peas. And when I decided to lose weight, and I told her like, yeah, I'm not gonna eat that. I'm gonna have this tuna and veggies instead. She looked at me like I'd actually lost my mind, like I was being disowned. I love my mom, so when I did that, I knew it was actually gonna work. Like I was actually gonna lose weight. But okay, backtrack to so I was really overweight. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, pre-diabetic. I would say self-diagnosed depression because like who's really all that happy when you're not confident in your own skin, right?
Yeah.
And I was managing a beer store at the time, and I looked in our like non-reflective mirror, and anyone of my people that are overweight know you pull your shirt to hide your stomach because we think that's going to actually hide our stomach by like just fixing our top. I saw my top and I'm like, wait a second, that's not my top. And I hadn't realized I'd went from like basketball and backup dancing to actually being like really overweight. Not that I was like very fit before, but I was always, borderline, like heavier built, but not overweight. So at that point, I was talking about it now. I was telling people I wanted to lose weight. I acknowledged that I was actually overweight. Weighed myself at an airport, and to my surprise, I actually saw the 318-pound mark.
Sorry, wait. So you weighed yourself at an airport. Was this while you're supposed to weigh your bag?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And they let you stand on that weigh scale.
Okay, so at the time, I had a friend that worked at WestJet. Okay, so this is how I found out my weight. I'm not even kidding, I swear. So I went to WestJet because my friend worked there, and I think they had to pick up like their pass that they use to get into like the rooms or whatever. So we go there, and she's like, "How much do you think you weigh?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm obviously 180. Like I've been 180 my whole life, right?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "You're definitely not 180." I'm like, "No, I am like 180, maybe 185." I stood on the scale and it said 318 pounds. And this is like, say, like the week of me seeing that my shirt didn't fit. So like it's all coming together now. I actually can see my weight. So at that point, I'm talking about it all the time. Like, yeah, I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to join a gym. My friend for New Year's, so I was a New Year's resolution, by the way. So my friend for New Year's got me a gym pass at a commercial gym. So then I go to the gym. Oh, finally, after like Chris, so I got it for Christmas as a gift, and then I used it in the New Year. So I go to the gym in the New Year's, and I got a consultation. So when you meet the trainer that's going to train you, so I get this consultation, and his name's Dave, good old Dave. Anyone that I've done a class with knows Dave because I talk about him every time because he's so special to me. So Dave and the fitness manager sit down, me and my friend, and they're telling us about fitness, and then he takes me through an assessment. So I just want you to picture this. I'm 318 pounds. Dave gives me a Bosu, so that half moon kind of stability block for all my people that know what that is. He told me to stand on it with one foot bend down and touch the ground. And if I can't do that, I have poor core stability. That was that was my assessment. So of course I felt.
How long ago was this?
Oh shoots, this was like, so I would say like 8 years now, right? About 8 years.
How far we've come. We'll talk on later episodes maybe about the Bosu and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But
So
continue. Sorry.
so yeah. So Dave wanted me to touch the ground, and I don't know if you've ever tried to bend down on a Bosu. That thing starts to shake and tremble. So I take a fantastic fall, and then Dave goes, just as I suspected. You're definitely in need of personal training, because that was the end all be all assessment, right? So then he gets me to do that. I fall down, and I can't move at all. Like I can't do bicep curls. I 100% can't do a push up. So, but my friend that I was with had been like a bit more fit than I was. So like she was able to do like push-ups, bicep curls, and he kept complimenting her technique. Like, oh wow, that's really good. How could you possibly be here with him? He's terrible. He definitely needs help. So just like, not like I was in the best mood to begin with, right? So he just completely breaks me down to the smallest point. Then, locks me in this room and says, okay, so based on this assessment, you need to buy personal training today. It's gonna be $10,000. Like, let's get you started. And I'm like, I just signed up today. Maybe I'll think about it. I kid you not, locks the door basically, and it's like, no, you need to make a decision now. What are you gonna do? So I'm not the most confrontational, to say the least. So I'm like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, definitely. I'll look into. Okay, yeah, I'll get signed up. Let me grab my wallet. It's in the car, and 100% I did not come back. Right, like not till that week.
Yeah.
So that gym closed at midnight. So I started to go, which this sucks, by the way. Like, who wants to feel like that, right? So that week, I actually did go to the gym because I had my new membership. So me and my same friend, we went at like 10:30 at night because I knew Dave wouldn't be there, right?
Yeah.
So we get to the gym, and she surprises me with like a bag of like 3 jogging pants, 3 shirts from Nike, and I saw everybody in the gym wearing all this cool gear, and like I had this brand new fit because I didn't know what to wear to the gym. No one tells you the dress code, right? Like, what's Lululemon? Do they make men's clothing? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I get this bag of clothes. I feel like I'm feeling myself. My confidence raised like a tick on the confidence scale. I put on my new pants and my shirt. I was feeling myself, and started working out. So I got started like that and wanted to learn more. So I did some technology-based education, took some courses and things like that so I could train myself. Had 3 days, 3 designated days that I picked, all while making food changes and all that without like going crazy into nutrition. Just basically not drinking soda and having a ton of milkshakes. Right?
Yeah.
Small changes. Kept doing that and stayed consistent. Picked 3 days. Eventually added in a fourth day, and in 6 months I had lost 100 pounds.
Nice.
So that got kind of crazy. So backtrack. Prior to this, I have an uncle that's actually a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So he's a celebrity trainer, my uncle Duran. Super cool guy. He'd brought me to the gym once before when I was much younger. I did like one exercise and never came back for like 4 years. So that's what happened there.
Sore for that long, eh?
I was basically sore for that long. He said you need time to recover. I was recovering.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he basically saw me after the 6 months and saw that I was actually finally serious. So I don't know if I mentioned this. My uncle's a celebrity trainer.
Yeah.
So he's a celebrity trainer. So he didn't want to just train me if I wasn't going to be serious. So once I had lost the 100, and he was like, okay, that's, it's really impressive. Like, how about you come by my gym? So I went to his gym and continued losing weight. But at this time, I didn't really understand. No, sorry. Hold on. Pause. So the gym I was at, I went between that gym and my uncle's gym. So I worked out at both gyms. So my uncle's gym had seen me lose like 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Basically. So members started to approach me and ask me like, oh, what are you doing? And I'm pretty much an extrovert. I like to talk a lot. So I was telling everybody, I'm like, oh, you got to do this. You got to eat that. Do you know what macronutrients are? Hey, oh my gosh, that's not how you squat. Let's save your knee. So then they were like, all right, you're either going to work here or you're going to never come back because like trainers work here. So then they hired me as a dance instructor because of my dancing background. Then my uncle started to train me. So he introduced me to like true resistance training and periodization and just eating right to now not just lose weight, but to gain muscle mass. Because at this point, I had lost so much weight. And since I didn't have training to begin with, I made a lot of mistakes and lost a lot of muscle in my journey to getting fitter, basically. So he started to help me at that point, and we trained together, and he taught me actual form and technique, how to squat, move better, more so from an aesthetic point of view, but also with some like core pieces and, you know, just moving better and just not sitting down all day. Yeah, so that was a big piece there. So he played a huge part in me wanting to be a trainer, really, because I didn't really like I was a dance instructor. I was never really a trainer, and seeing that and oh, the best part is when he told me I have to actually work out every day. Remember, I told you I only worked out 4 times a week.
Yeah.
He looked at me and he's like, "Okay, so." I'm like, "Okay, so if you're training me, like, when's my day off?" He's like, "Day off? You train every day. I guess you could rest on Saturdays if you need to." So I didn't realize that you could train like that if you programmed it properly, right? So that was a huge piece for me. So yeah, that's pretty much my journey to getting into training. Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you mentioned a couple things that are quite interesting, but I'll ask you the one that you kind of finished off with, which is about a little bit more about your uncle, because a lot of people when they first get into the fitness routine, or they want to get into the fitness industry and actually become a trainer, finding that mentor, finding that individual who can guide them through is very, very important for many of them, because oftentimes you can get lost, you can get demotivated, you can kind of see your passion start to dwindle away a little bit, because it's not an easy industry. Like a lot of people look at it as being something that, if you're gonna go and work in it, you're gonna be a personal trainer. Like it's really easy. Now it's enjoyable, but it is hard. It's still a job. You're still selling. You're still trying to sell yourself, right? And the services that you give. So, how important is it for new trainers to find a good mentor early in their career to help kind of mold or shape their kind of their training style, their training philosophy?
I think it's ginormous. Actually, it's ginormous for the trainer. It's ginormous for a client. It's the only way it really becomes a habit. So train. I'm really blessed to have had a few mentors. I could comfortably say. So my uncle was a huge mentor, and looking back even at him, like I didn't even realize his level of like just like I would say experience, knowledge, because he did things in such a way it didn't even feel like, a lot of people get discouraged from fitness and talking about fitness because they don't understand the language, right?
Yeah.
So he did things at the beginning and he used the simplest language. And now that I know what I know, even like connecting with your why, right? When I met him, he was like, "Okay, so honestly, like what do you want? Why? Like why are you doing this?" And like I was like, "Oh, the doctor said I have high cholesterol, high blood pressure." And he's like, "No, seriously, like what do you actually want?" And he's like seriously. And I'm like, "No, like I want, to be healthier and live longer." And he's like, "Okay, let me just tell you straight up. I want to be sexy. This is what I want." And then he's like, "Would you like to look nice with the shirt off?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And he's like, "Okay." And he starts to ask me about like more personal questions I didn't see coming from him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, shoots." Like, he's like, "Yeah, like, if you've had a girlfriend in the past, imagine if you worked out and were more confident, you'd probably be less intimidated to approach someone that you're really interested in." And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And like, I don't know. He started to sell me this Lamborghini. And I was like, "Oh, really?" Like, so you're saying, and like, he just made it like, but really, he was making me connect with my true why. And it kind of, when I would go to the gym now and I would work out, I would think about my why a bit more. Then I being overweight, I never wore like tank tops or like cut off or jerseys or whatever you'd call them. And like he would like during our workouts, he'd be like, "Oh, it's time." Well, I'm like, "Time for what?" "It's time to cut off those sleeves. You're ready." And he'd build my confidence because remember I was coming from a bad place, right?
Yeah.
So just him being able to, because that's the type of personality type I had. So he recognized that and he knew kind of what to say to build my confidence, because that's what I thought I just wanted results, but I needed confidence.
Yeah.
So that was cool. So he was a great mentor. Then, a couple of the workshops I did, one of the first group classes I did, the instructor was like really good. And, he demonstrated some really like good pieces, and just the way he spoke made me like, wow, like I'd love to be a trainer that could talk like this. The way he dealt with the class and interacted, I thought that was really great. And not to be that guy, but then like luckily, like when I met you, it was like I've never met someone that actually cared about people moving better. So like how I met you, like you were my manager, my
Yeah.
boss. And when you came to that commercial gym, it was like anyone I'd met before that was all about sales and selling and numbers, and I'm like, this is 100% not why I became a trainer. And then you coming in like, okay, guys, so who here knows how to train? Like, I beg your pardon. I'm gonna take a second to watch everybody train their client for a bit and just, you know, just hang around, be a fly on the wall. I'm gonna teach you a squatting clinic or how to. It's just like, whoa, what is going on right now? So people actually care. So having a mentor and like trainers you can like aspire to be like and adopt some of their techniques is unreal. I tell my classes all the time, I highly recommend working at a commercial gym just to meet different people, to be a bit inspired, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's huge to have a mentor. It doesn't matter what you're doing, even like not being yourself, but could definitely take, that's that whole growth mindset, fixed mindset thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like you mentioned commercial gyms, but I just think I don't know if commercial gyms is necessarily, you've got to work at one of those, but working at different gyms and seeing the way that different people train, different people manage facilities, different types of clients, and getting that type of experience, right? Because I think that's what really gives you the breadth of knowledge in order to understand where you stand in that. Because every single person, like I've managed a few different facilities, so every personal trainer is different. They all bring their own personality, their own philosophy, their own experiences, their own I guess rating of what is important and what isn't into their own training. And the idea isn't that you necessarily want to change that. When you're an educator or you're a manager, you're not trying to change that in the person, but you're trying to help them see that, you mentioned managers who are very salesy, right, and very sales oriented, and I've seen that too. But actually, in my interview for that managing position, one of the things that I said to him was like, I am an educator. Like, that's what I do. And so that's how I'm going to help my team grow and how I'm going to help my team succeed. I'm not the best seller in the world, but what I can do is I can teach them how to better serve their clients. And by them better serving their clients, getting them moving better, more pain-free, getting them to the goals that they want to see, they'll be able, like, that'll sell itself.
Okay.
Right. And I think that's just a difference in mindset between them, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of gyms are very sales oriented when the sales come after.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a big differentiation that needs to take place. So I wanted to ask you another question. So going once again back to your story a little bit, you mentioned that you were really into Chinese food and your Caribbean food, and
spicy shrimp, to be specific.
Spicy shrimp
from Watu's.
From Watu's.
Yeah, if for all my people that know Watu's.
Yeah, and then you're drinking a lot of calories as well. I know you mentioned milkshakes and different juices.
All the calories from drinking Sprite and Fruitopia mixed. I didn't know what water was.
Yeah, yeah. So my question is this, because for a lot of people, and I know you've seen this working with clients, and I've seen this working with clients, and like I teach a few courses at a college nearby, and one of the things whenever I'm talking with either general population or even trainers is, how do you get people to actually stick with these small little lifestyle changes without making it too much too soon, that it's such a drastic change that they just default back to their original patterning? And so I guess my question for you is, like, how did you do that? Like, how did you get to the point? Like, I know it appears that you hit kind of this wall and you're like, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. I'm changing my ways and I'm going to do that. But how do you instill that same feeling in people who may not be at that same point, who may not have the same motivations that you do?
So 100%, I think, like, different strokes for different folks, right? So, but for myself, and I think the best way is, it was definitely super incremental with me. It wasn't at all kind of like when you're teaching someone to squat, you can't talk about their ankle, their hip, their this, their that. Like, they'll get confused, right?
Yeah.
So it was the same thing for me. I allowed myself to have whatever I wanted for breakfast. Didn't matter. As long as I was eating breakfast, I was eating something.
Yeah.
So I did that. So first of all, I had breakfast, and then my a little bit better was I went from Sprite and Fruitopia mix, because if you drink soda, that's how you drink soda.
Mm-hmm.
Sprite and Fruitopia mix. I went from that to Nest tea. I know, like, what's the difference, right? To me, Nest tea was healthier than Sprite and Fruitopia.
It says tea.
It says tea, right?
Especially if you get the green tea one, it says green tea.
That's exactly what and that was my mindset,
Yeah.
which is probably like majority of the population.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
so Nest tea is more healthy than or healthier than Sprite and Fruitopia. Let's do that. Then I was like, oh wow, it's not all that much healthier. I started reading labels.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, these, like, I was so confused. Like, wait a second, my Nest tea is the same as my Sprite. So then I went from that to, what did I go to next? To one orange juice in the morning, and those aspartaned water drinks
Okay.
in the evening. So, like, not the healthiest, but a little bit better, right? And it said there was no calories. I was like, okay, cool. I'm not drinking all my calories anymore. So that was one of the first changes I made. I had a breakfast joint around my neighborhood. I'd grab breakfast in the morning, and then I started eating every 2 hours after that. So then I started incorporating timed eating, basically. So in other words, a routine, because I didn't have a routine. I just made sure whatever I ate was every 2 hours. I started to eat, for a snack, Nutri-Grain bars. So I wasn't familiar with like calories versus nutrients and calorie dense versus nutrient dense.
Yeah.
So I just had a Nutri-Grain bar. I knew I had to eat something if I wanted to, stay eating throughout the day. So I wasn't hungry in the nighttime and just went to Watu's, defaulted to Watu's. Then again, I looked at the labels and I was like, wow, this Nutri-Grain bar has absolutely nothing in it. Went from that to bananas. At least I had bananas, and I knew there was vitamins or minerals in bananas.
Yeah.
I knew enough to know that, because at this time I'm so new to nutrition. I don't know very much at this point. And I'm taking workshops, and they're more so about exercise than the nutrition side of things at this time. So I went to that, to snacks. Then I learned a lot more about macronutrients and my carbohydrate intake. So I started to use that as fuel earlier in the daytime, and I made sure my dinners were a lot lighter, and just started cutting out packaged things. And just every day I made a new change, or every week rather. And eventually, as you start seeing results, that's the motivation right there. It's, wow, I lost 10 pounds. People started telling me I look good. And I was like, well, if you think I look good, imagine. And I knew the things I was still working on.
Mm-hmm.
Then once I saw I lost a good amount of weight, I could start to incorporate, like, say, bread again, and kind of watch the scale. Like, did something change? Oh, nothing changed. Oh, something changed because I ate it for a few more days this week. And it got easier to maintain that. So it was definitely incremental, little changes. Still helped myself. Like, my mom makes pretty good food. I still had it once in a while, but not at the beginning. At the beginning, I was really strict, and I lessened the strictness as I progressed a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely incremental. I was really at that point where something had to change, and it was drinking my calories. So that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
I would say. So incremental, little changes every day, every week. That helped. Seeing the results did really help, though.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I think is, you just really can't lie to yourself. You can't kind of hide and eat things and expect things to change, right?
Yeah.
So since I actually did those changes, and I wasn't lying to myself, I wasn't eating late at night because I got hungry, and I sacrificed those few weeks and saw a little bit of change and started to feel better, it made it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, I had support too, right? So the support was a huge help. Like, my friend that got me the gym membership,
Yeah.
kind of not staying on top of me, but we had each other. So that's why, like, having a trainer or a friend or somebody there with you is a huge help. Right now, with just imagining now with clients I know that don't have it, I try to be more supportful.
Yeah.
So that's something I do. So even if, like, it's a WhatsApp group and it's a quick, hey, you got this, I feel like it's huge, because it sucks when you feel like you're on your own.
Yeah.
So I think that would be it, just not feeling alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're working with clients, because a lot of your clients, they renew regularly. Most of your clients have been with you for, well, as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
But where do you see, not necessarily your clients, but most clients, like, where do you see them fail when they're trying to get basically from a sedentary, poor eating habit lifestyle into more of an active, so trying to make that healthy choice into more of an active, more healthy diet type lifestyle, where do you see most of them fail?
I see them fail when they stop showing up. I kind of see them fail when they are no longer motivated. So one thing I've realized, and it's kind of crazy, but with my clients, right?
Yeah.
With my clients, I have like 18.
Yeah.
At times. So I have like a good amount of clients, and not all of them actually even want to be. I think it's just not giving them unrealistic goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like not all of them want to be super fit and look super fit. And that was my misconception when I started, in a sense.
Yeah.
I just thought everybody wanted to look like they were on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, my uncle was a celebrity trainer.
Yeah.
So it's this big, like, oh, you got to have a six pack, you got to have this. And I pushed to get those kind of results at the beginning almost, because I just figured that's what everybody wanted. But I've had clients that came to me at the beginning stages and were like, look, like this is my therapy.
Yeah.
And I realized like, oh, wow, like just having a great session, doing what I got to do and giving them the information and just keeping them coming was probably the biggest thing, and how I was able to like have returning clients, because not all of them wanted to be killed, let's say. They actually wanted to come and do their workout, but also feel happy or escape something else or just take their mind away from work. And I think when we're too textbook and we're just too strict at points, some clients need it, but when we're too much like that, sometimes we kind of push them away as opposed to letting them come and get comfortable. Because so the thing with my uncle, I go back to him, is when I would train with him, I started to love coming to the gym.
Yeah.
We would have great workouts, great conversations, see great results, and see like the numbers changing, and that was progressive to me, and I liked that. So I was looking forward to like telling him about what I did that day, and I would tell him things like, yeah, like, you know what, I'm gonna try this when I get to work, and we would talk about that, and I get to tell him what I did that day. But if you don't have that with your trainer and you're just coming in, it's like, I already don't want to be here.
Yeah.
And now I'm coming to see someone I don't want to see. So I'm going to stop coming, and now I'm going to stop seeing results for sure. So I think as long as they're coming, they'll be moving better, and they'll share their goals with you, and you can keep providing information. So I've had a lot of clients that lose hundreds of pounds, and I have some clients that just gain hundreds of ticks on the happiness scale.
Yeah.
I think both of them are goals and wins, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of the goal setting that trainers do is trying to get something that's really easy to measure, right? Easy to, I wouldn't say accomplish, but to see. And you talked about losing weight, but a lot of the trainers also that I've worked with have been looking at wanting to, clients who want to put on muscle mass, and so that's what they want to look at, right?
Yeah.
And when you evaluate a goal that way, or the success of a program in that way, a lot people can become very very they can lose motivation very quickly if they don't come out and lose 20 pounds in the first week or two, right? If the goals aren't coming fast enough, they can start to lose that motivation. That's when you maybe see that they're not as motivated anymore. And, it could be because they haven't been explained what the process should be or what the timeline should be for that kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely agree that, like, I've had clients who came in and she was, middle-aged, mid-40s, early 50s, and looked relatively fit herself, like looked like she was in pretty good shape. She was very strong, and she's just like, yeah, literally, I'm like, okay, let's try and do some goal setting. She's like, I just want to train. Like, I literally just want to come here.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my time while I'm here. And if, I feel like I'm working hard and it's enjoyable, I'll just keep renewing.
100%.
And she like renewed like 3 or 4 times, like year on year.
And that's all right.
Yeah.
Like that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And I think we often as trainers need that, or want that thing that's that tangible number, that we don't like things being subjective.
Yeah.
We like things that are objective, easy to measure, and sometimes when somebody comes in with subjective goal, we get a little bit scared, right? Oh, like, how do I know that I'm getting there? Right? How do I know that I'm helping them, as you say, go up a couple ticks on the happiness scale? How do I know that they're enjoying their time with me? Because so many are so into, we're going to do training as if we're bodybuilding, or we're going to do some training as if we're powerlifting, or we're going to do HIIT because, you want to lose weight, or I see that you should lose weight. And so that's what we're going to do, as opposed to figuring out, what does the client enjoy doing, right? What do they need, and what do they enjoy doing, and how do I mix all of that together to create this well-rounded program for them?
Yeah.
Right. So I got a couple final questions, kind of as we finish up. So the first one is, if you can think forward, 5-10 years from now, where do you foresee the fitness industry being, either as a trainer or as a consumer, so as a general population fitness enthusiast? Where do you see the fitness industry being?
I actually have no idea. That is a great question. 10 years, 8 years from now, let me think. 10 years, 8 years where I was at, right? Where do I see it being? Definitely. Okay, well, I could say this without holding my breath. Trainers having more knowledge and not making people go on Bosu balls and try to touch the floor.
Using Bosu balls as assessments. I love that. I've actually never seen that before, and I've been around, and I've never seen that as an assessment, specifically for core stability, needing to touch the ground while standing on one leg.
I like, knowing what I know now, like, what a guy, eh? Good old Dave. Yeah.
I would love to know what course he learned that from.
Like, beats me. So I would say 10 years from now, it definitely be something to see. Well, that's why I'm glad I get to teach too, right?
Yeah.
To see the trainers doing more appropriate things with their clients. That'd be one thing. Another thing, what we just chatted about right now, is not being so concerned about having things we can post on our Instagram feed, right? So not these measurable or easy to measure goals that we see, and that's all we think about. Because I do believe, if we, again, like, I'm not saying we don't also need measurable goals that, like weight loss and things like that. And everybody's different. I understand that. There's not like a one size fits all kind of thing, but definitely just taking some time to really provide what your clients need to keep them coming to the gym.
Yeah.
So just not being so fixed on seeing these results that we think are so important. Because if we're not as fixed on that, then we would definitely keep people coming more. And if they came more, they would still get those results over time. Granted, they do make changes, right? They would, if it takes them a bit longer, but it's sustainable, I think that's better than having like a 6-week challenge that doesn't last all that long.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I would say in 10 years, 8 years, where I see it going, where I'd like to see it go, hopefully to contribute to that as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There is a lot of, it is nice to see that there's a lot of education now, or accessibility to education now, whether it be live courses or online courses. You have the ability to go and take whatever it is you feel like you need, whether it's assessments or programming or lifting mechanics, whatever. You can go and take those types of courses, and they're readily available. The one thing that I will say is it is interesting always to see how many trainers take courses that they're interested in for their own lifting, and then they almost try to mirror whatever they enjoy onto their clients.
I've been guilty of that.
Yeah. I think that's a conversation for another time.
100%, but definitely been guilty of that.
But that is like, we'll probably, when we discuss some stuff on programming at some point, that will definitely be a discussion that we have, is about that very common theme. Because I've had this conversation with actually new trainers coming in who've been in a course with me, and they've had a trainer. Like I asked, who's had a trainer before, who had a good experience with that trainer, and they put up their hand for having a trainer and then put down their hand for a good experience with that trainer. And when I find out, or I ask a little bit about why they didn't have as great of an experience as they probably should have as a trainer, like fitness should be fun. And basically what they said is, well, they trained me as if I was a power lifter. They wanted to get me into powerlifting meets, and I wasn't strong enough to tell them no, because I'm like, they must know something that I don't, that this is really, really good for me. And so I just do what my trainer tells me to do. And this individual ended up getting injured, like seriously injured, and is still suffering some of the consequences of that injury even now.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a big thing. All right. Last question. Because I know this has happened to me.
Okay.
You know, when I first started out as a trainer, I look back at that time and I think to myself, oh my goodness, I cannot believe I did that. Or I can't believe that I thought that was a good idea. I'm sure Dave is looking back thinking to himself, oh my goodness, I can't believe I thought that standing on one leg on a Bosu with a guy who's 300 plus pounds and trying to get him to touch the ground is a good idea.
I really hope so.
Right? So just for the audience, is what is something that you know now that you really wish, like just one thing that you really wish you would have known when you first started?
One thing I wish I knew then that I know now. Again, what we just spoke about, just it's okay to not be able to lift 100 pounds or have a 6-pack in a month or get this measurable goal that a progress picture displays. That some people just, everybody's different and identify a bit more with their goal so that they could stick around and just enjoy their training. Really, I would say another piece that I wish I knew then that I know now is just like, it's okay. It's okay to not. So what I mean by that is, okay, so like with the nutrition, let's say, when I first started out, I didn't know all that much about it. So I was scared to tell someone it's okay to eat pizza for breakfast. Like, I just thought to myself, like, okay, like there's this white and black and you have to give this information and it has to be textbook and you can't, nothing is subjective.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, we're dealing with humans that are humans.
Yeah.
And it's, hey, did you eat breakfast? And like, no. It's like, oh, but like I had a slice of pizza. Like, don't, okay, cool. You ate something. Great. Like, okay, so let's build from there. I realized it's okay to start somewhere.
Yeah. Small steps.
Yeah. And that's something I wish I knew before. It's okay to start somewhere and you can't just throw all this information at once. So yeah, that came with experience too.
Yeah. I think oftentimes we information overload our clients because they want to make changes so quickly that we just feed into that and like, oh yeah, you can make changes really quickly and you can lose a lot of weight really fast or put on a lot of muscle mass really fast, but you have to make all of these major changes in your lifestyle which just aren't sustainable over an extended period of time.
Not at all.
Right?
Actually, I was actually told a funny joke. It's not funny at all. My brother is also a trainer.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, he was making fun of commercial gyms. It's not funny at all. But what he said to me and just him role playing the scenario, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like so funny, but it's not funny. And he was basically saying, you know, client comes in and says, hey, you know, my goal is to lose, you know, 80. No, I want to look like you.
Yeah.
What do I got to do? How long is it going to take?
Yeah.
And my brother looked at me. He's like, you look at them and you say 1 month.
Yeah.
1 month. And you tell them that and it's like 1 month, but you got to sign up today.
Yeah.
Right away. And it's like, he was kidding, but he's just trying to say like, that's like the pressure of like sales, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, we like just to get people to sign up, we'll say whatever we want. It's unrealistic. And that does not give them a great experience either. So
yeah. So one thing just to kind of finish off for anybody who's listening who's not a personal trainer, just understand that when you are going into a gym, just like Ante just said, you don't have to go in knowing exactly what you want to do, how much weight you need to lose, how much muscle you want to put on. You don't even have to be going into a gym with a very specific or very objective measurement that you're going to assess, just getting moving more is a good idea. But if you are in pain, if you are struggling with knowing what to do, then seek out some information from, a friend, a personal trainer, something like that, who understands what is necessary in order to get to that end.
Yes. If I could give a message to my people just joining the gym, like I once was, support team, 100%. If you don't have one, go to the gym. You'll find one. Join a class. Just, what's that saying? You don't have to be great to start. You have to start to be great.
Right.
Yeah. Just go, like Adam said, and just, you'll meet people. It's the most social place in the planet. I know it doesn't look like that coming out. When you get there, you think everyone is just headphones on and they're not willing to talk. Everyone's actually super nice. Well, not everyone, like not Dave, but yeah, just go there, enjoy it, and just go down the rabbit hole. And just, that was huge for me too. Go down the rabbit hole and just learn stuff. Just ask questions like, why are you doing that? If you see someone doing something, hey, what does that work?
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to thank you a lot, Ante, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And for everybody listening, we'll see you guys next time. State of the Industry Podcast.
I'll be back.